Darshan means the passing of the light from the teacher to the one sitting at the knee of instruction. A healing darshan is coming to us for Niscience through hierarchy nature in us. What is hierarchy nature? Hierarchy nature is your true primordial nature of will, a vehicle and vessel in the will of God. And when you are visualizing and imaging through hierarchy nature, it is going to happen. It is going to happen. It will happen. For in this willing, there is no deviation of Maya, or no satanic, or no little will aggressions to interfere with that which is imaged in hierarchy nature. So in Niscience, we are now initiating you into hierarchy nature healing. And in hierarchy nature healing, there's the healing of the impossibles, of the improbables. The little will does not come into hierarchy nature and cannot in any way be used, or else one seeking to use little will in visualizing through hierarchy nature, he sets up forces of negation in his own life and reverberates or brings back unto himself the negatives which he would seek to heal, or that which he would seek to will. There has been a common thing for a long time of mental healing, in which one heals through that of his own willing mind. This is limited healing. It is limited in the sense that it does not come from hierarchy nature, it comes from ego nature. Ego nature healing is limited to the psychic planes and only temporary in healing cycles. I am also, and we are also, Jonathan and myself, giving unto you now in the future and in the coming weeks and months an understanding of the cycles in a way and cyclic timing and cyclic nature as it has never been given to the world. And this is very important in healing. We must understand that a cycle is an inevitable will of God working. In other words, it works with the will of God, that whatever we cycle or begin a cycle in, it is going to finish its energy, conclude its energy. If we send out a negative cycle of energy, it is going to conclude to its destination of that which was the original thought. So we must realize the extreme value and sensitivity of thinking, and of how, if we are caught into thinking in a negative cycle of setting one up, where the consequence is inevitably all negative, all through the reactions in body, in mind, and on every plane of Maya or physical earth existence. So when a person is thinking a hate thought, that cycle has begun, and that cycle is going to fulfill itself, and it's going to boomerang and come back to you. And many times, as it has touched other alien aspects of its hatred, it is going to come back to you with all of its multiplication of every point. If a rose is going to grow from the ground, it's going to have its thorns, and it's going to have its various points where a leaf is joining, and that's the same way with a cycle. A cycle is coming and projecting itself out into certain circumstances, and it is working through mind force and through emotional force and through etheric chemistry. So we have to realize that setting up a cycle of hatred or of doubt, it is going to conclude itself and is going to come back and give us the absolute negative results of that which we sent out. Everything we do has a positive result, even though it may be on a negative plane. So when you are working to heal someone, you are working to visualize in the hierarchy nature, in your hierarchy nature, you are working to visualize and to bring a change over of trans-energization of the cyclic prison they are bonded to, of the psychic laws, the psychic nature, in which we set out. It's like setting out in a cycle of negativity. We are going to get negative results, and we're going to reap them in larger quantities as they come back to us and encircle us in the circumstances of pain and suffering. Everything we suffer in the world, we have created ourselves. And we have sent out these cycles of energy, of thought force, mind power, and emotions. Every cycle is working always with the bloodstream and the breath. The breath keeps alive the cyclic law and the cycle of energy, cyclic energy. And the blood sets it into action through the atoms in our cells. The various cells respond to these cyclic laws. And when we are negative, we set up negative cycles in our natures and causing malignant cells or conditions in our body, and we load ourselves with psychic poisons or hatreds, and thus we cannot cleanse ourselves in their ordinary timing cycles. A cycle of a cell must move at a particular time, but if there's congestion and toxicity of wrong passions and negativities and hatred and envy and greed and separateness, we are going to have to conclude that cycle and learn all of its lessons through pain. So this is what the healer must know. He must know he is dealing with the positive power of God, that there's no greater power in the world than the power of God. And the first aspect of God is will. We have all inherited this will, being imaged in his likeness. And that will, in its highest aspect in us, is a primordial will, which is in the hierarchy nature. And when we are willing through seeing, now as I said before, your heart is a time machine. Your brain is a movement machine. And your eye is a space machine. Your consciousness can claim all it can see in its eye, but if it claims something ugly, it is going to reproduce that through the nature of creation in our nature, in our own nature. If we are seeing something we hate, and we are constantly in the environment of something we hate, we are going to reproduce that in our health and in our life. And we are going to have in that circle of moving energies, coming to its conclusion as a cycle, we are going to come back into the circle and react. Others will hate us. We have set up the cycles of hate, and they are functioning on the hate planes. So it is extravagant for a disciple to hate. He cannot go into the fantasy of thinking that hatred will get him anywhere. It will only give him suffering and pain. And envy and separation are the same. What we are envious of, we are trying to steal from someone else's possession, which belongs to them. What we covet is the same. We are trying to steal. What is the result? Conditions of the hands. The hands are the symbol of stealing. And the hands are directly connected with the heart. If a person wants to prosper, he cannot dare to covet, nor can he dare to envy. Because in him, he is in the likeness of God. Why should he want to be the likeness of someone else? We have in us all of these things in our own nature. Why should we desire if a person is a brilliant musician, or if he's a famous physician, or if he's on the stage? He has earned it. He has earned it through some form of winning and earning through that which is in him. But with that, if you look into the lives of all these persons, earning and winning is never absent. There's always the need for the person to re-earn what he has been given as a gift by the grace of God. We have to re-earn every day our breath, our blood, our daily life. We are in this work to work. When we make a dedication to the will of God and we're going to use the hierarchy nature to heal others, we must be willing to work. We must be willing to work in the spirit of service. Because work without the spirit of service is not work, it is destruction. All of us have in us the negative aspect of the destroying principle. We have the power to destroy. And to be self-destruct is the greatest sin, the sin against the Holy Spirit. Because that which is creative and service and work in us, service to God, that is creation directly in the will of God. Now, if you are thinking, for instance, we have taught you in Niscience one of the most simple but one of the most effective healing exercises ever given in any system. And in spiritual understanding of healing and holding in the light and of speaking to the angel of the person. In that way, the angel carries the message of that which we pray for. But hierarchy nature goes even further than this. Hierarchy nature goes into the power of willing in you through your most high hierarchy nature of the will of God in you, through that which is visualized by the eye, and the eye is space vehicle. The eye is a trans-energizing vehicle to not only see and to get, but it's also that which sees and can destroy. By the sight of the eye, we step into space. We can, as far as we can see in our physical eye, we can claim that is our environment. As far as you can see in your spiritual eye is infinite. And in healing, in hierarchy nature, you must see with the spiritual eye with visualization. What is visualization? Visualization is similar to an artist. An artist creating on a canvas a certain scene, a certain drama, and giving it life. That's visualization. I'm visualizing a still pool of water. I'm visualizing a golden moon overhead. I'm visualizing the golden light of the moon reflecting in the water, coming up to me and making a path through which I step into the moon and am trans-energized and transported into other dimensions of life. That is visualization. And through that I have had space as sight in the third sight, or the third eye, and that which is movement, taking me out of body experience or having out of body experience and going through the moon, and that which is creation in all moons and all eternity systems and all galaxies. Now, breath and color go together. And in the roof of your mouth, I'm going to give you an exercise later. In the roof of your mouth, there's a color palette, a prism of God as color. There's a great vibration right here in your inner skull, and that is vibrating. When that slows down, you die. But as long as that is in alignment to the will of God, these colors are healing colors, and you're going to see them in your meditation. But every time you take a breath, color is expanded here, and you're not aware of it. It is all around you. And the rainbow of God is far more than you see with the physical eye as a rainbow. It is set up of many vibrations that are so fine. We have not a physical eye to see this color palette, but we have it to experience with the third eye when it is open. In meditation, you open this third eye. Now, if you are going to heal someone through hierarchy nature, you are going to use one of the powers of the third eye, which is visualization. And you are going to visualize that person as he is imaged of God, not as he looks now. He may be unshapen, he may be slovenly, he may be in terrible habits, he may be a divided mind, he may be anxious, or he may be in a fever, he may be in all these things, but you are going to visualize and behold the image of God in him with visualization power in hierarchy nature, willing in God. And then you are going to begin to have words come to you in which you are going to see the perfection of that person as he really is inside. Now remember, I said to you in Washington at the conclave, I said man in the outer world lives in a circle, but man in the inner life and the inner self lives in a sphere. When you step into meditation, or even when you try to have quiet and very quiet, you're stepping into the sphere of the inner self, of the inner nature. In Niscience, we teach you how to live in the inner nature and how to understand it and how to use it. To know these things through intellect, to read books about them, this is wonderful. It is an approach and preparation, but we must always be where we are living in this knowledge, awareness of it existing and happening. And we must realize that we are not this puffed up ego self that wants to be self-important and attention paid to it and this backstroke or rug. But we do not want to be always told we are right. We do not want to be around yes, 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 people all the time. We want to take life as it is in this earth and grasp it with our whole natures, but also with the inner nature, understand what it means as related to the inner nature, because this outer life, beloved one, is only going to be here for a few years. Then you are going to go into that inner nature and live in that reality until it is time for you to return back to reincarnation and take up your life again to render service with what you have learned in this life. After your 35 years, you are building your next life all of the time. And when you are talking to people, they are building their next life all of the time. You are not the only one in this universe, and your concern and your anxiety isn't the only thing that is existing. Everyone is suffering. Everyone is filled with tears that are not shed. Everyone is filled with prayers that are not answered. And everyone is filled with an anxiety as wanting to do something of the best in his own nature while living in the world. And the spiritual life is the only life in that inner sphere offering this opportunity. So I'm holding someone in the light, and I'm thinking of the love I have for the one closest to me. I'm thinking how gracious God has been to send them. Therefore, I know that they are God sent, because they have come into my life and they have made my life fulfilled. What I was not myself, they brought to me to make me whole. That person closest to me in all life has come to me to make me a complete person. I recognize that and give thanks for this. Then I'm moving out to my relatives and kin who gave me a physical body, and some of their own soul memories they shared with me. And also they provided me when I was weak as a child with that which I needed to sustain myself in the world. So I'm thinking of love of them. Then I'm thinking of my work, where I am working. And we know out of metaphysics, which is a dead end for spiritual understanding, we know that we are constantly repeating the same things through places in our workplace. Our bosses, who are always the same, have the same habits of doing the same thing, and we change our jobs and find the same boss again. So the thing is, we must love where we are, no matter where we are. And in our work environment, we are loving our environment. We are loving the polarity there. We are loving the industry, the energy, and we are loving the ethic that wants to come to birth through all of us working together. But we are not contesting him and wanting to knock him off and be boss ourselves, because we know there's only one boss, and that is our Father in heaven. So then we are now moving towards the omnipresent stations of love, and we are grateful for nature, for animal kingdom, and we're grateful for food, we're grateful for water, for vines, for light, the sun, the stars, moon, all of these things, the planets. Then we are in the universe, and we are hearing the song of the galaxy, and we are loving God as spirit in everything. And we cannot be absent from him. So now we're going to be the path back, a track of light, back into the core of our heart, the Bindu center of the heart, where beats that wonderful eternal, where God's presence can be known through love. Then we are raising all of this love, and suddenly, between the eyebrows, it is becoming light, because it has been transposed to light at that station between the eyebrows. Then we're moving upward, and we have someone or many we want to pray for tonight, and also to heal. So we are visualizing as we speak and say, "Beloved, my angel speaks unto thy angel, and sees the glory of God coming to birth in thee. Throw off thy chains, be free, come into thy true nature, thy being. Be happy, be joyful. Let the angels wipe thy tears, and let the saint give unto thee the nourishments to the kingdom." Then we say, "I thank thee, Father." Now we're going to move down to the center of the forehead, where there is an indestructible atom which was open when Jesus received his resurrection and his ascension. And there's a tremendous lens there, right in front of your forehead. That is a great photographing lens that is like an eye. And that lens is moving with a pulsation like a breath, but it is a breath which is of the soul's medallion, this lens in the middle of the forehead. Then you're coming into hierarchy nature work, and you are visualizing a special person who needs healing. And you are seeing them as a primordial, perfected being, innocent, true, pure, loving. And you are going to see it to the core and know it with willing nature in hierarchy nature. And all of the time, you are feeling your breath getting quieter because the lens is doing the breathing. And you are seeing this, and you are knowing it is going to happen. Then you bring all of this light and power down to the right side of your heart and let it rest. And then you give thanks to our Father, to God, to his angels, to omnipresence. That is hierarchy healing. You can never put your intellect in that place of hierarchy nature. The intellect cannot reach it in its vibration. When you spiritualize your intellect by spiritual practice and devotion, you will be in the light, and therefore you will be harmless as a dove. But you will be as wise as a serpent, because at that time you will have and receive certain instruction. There's a breath which you must all learn. It is a breath which is part of cyclic law, which helps you to end the cycles. It is in the abdomen, here, not the lungs. The lungs are your physical body vehicles for breath, for oxygen, for air. This is for prana, for a third degree of breathing. When a child, infant, is sleeping on the bed, he is breathing this way. Breathe through your abdomen. Watch and count the breaths. This takes the pressure off the lungs, off the liver. Now feel that energy without doing it yourself. It's going to go up. Remember, it is going to happen. That once you start counting the breath, that energy is going up to the lens in the middle of the forehead. You are going to see color. Now you're going to see that color, and you are going to, when you see the color, blue, gold, or whatever, go through that color as you would go through a mirror on the wall. Because the mirror is Maya, is the energy, gross energy of density. But that which is on the other side of the mirror is peace, timeless and spaceless. In that you are everywhere and everyone in the one of God. If you have any form of suffering in your body, use the primordial first breath as a little babe in the abdomen. Then let it do itself, let it go to here. And then see the color and go through the color and taste of that bliss of God in you. That is healing of yourself, that you might heal others through color. Whatever color you see, that is the plane you are working with. That is the work you are doing. And that is the way, when you have the most stress, to change the stress, trans-energize it into love and light. You are receiving in your white papers now the hierarchy energy, understanding, and you are to receive more and more the cyclic understanding, a cycle of good, a praise of God, a mantra, all set up cycles that come back to you, as Jesus said, bread on the waters. Inevitably, your good returns to you and blesses you. As I said the other day, goodness is that which we came in the world with, and God said it was good. That is what we have as visitors in this earth, as also creators of this earth. It is now is the time, as the old prophet said, I say to you, now is the time for you to call forth your spiritual powers, but to use them in the ethic you're being trained in Niscience, so that you will not fall into pitfalls of psychism. Now is the time to become a holy Darshan light walking amidst those who have your need. From the very first beginning of Niscience, when you start your first little meditation and the speaking of mantras and the answering of your sentences and the using the dwelling or morning sentences and going through the rhythmic practices of the wonderful rosary at noontime, from that very time you are marking and tracing, and you are throwing off the garbage in your undersoul, that you might come forth in the hierarchy nature and use the hierarchy will of God in you. Every practice you have is a trans-energizing experience. Never waver in your faith. Those who have dry spells or go through dry bone places in their consciousness, they must keep in touch with their teaching and their practices. They must always realize that Niscience has been given to you as a grace of God gift, all of us, by and through which we are to transform areas, territories, vocations, creations in the world and produce that which is of the highest valor for sharing with our fellow men. A new race is being built in this earth. Religions are to once more be scourged, and they are to be cleansed, and they are to be brought into the holy altars of the true Christ, and the holy Logos is to be spoken on the altar. Niscience is a transforming ministry, and we walk the path of marking and tracing, and we are recovering the gifts of our souls which have been put up on the shelf and been dusty. In the experience I had in Washington, the voice of Jesus said that the nail holes are rusty. We must flow new blood through the nail holes we have inherited from him in crucifixion and initiation. And we must flow these nail holes into pure blood, pure health, pure healing. The color of ether, of healing, is rosy colored, reflecting the bloodstream. If you look into a person's etheric body, you will see it is rosy colored ether with a form of peachy color. That comes off of the blood vibrations. And that could not be that color without the breath, because the blood is just a gas in the physical body. It becomes red when we see it because of the air touching it. It has no color inside. The color is a prism, and it's in this part of your mouth. You will feel when you're doing this begin to tingle inside. And then the color is going to come down like dripping from a wonderful elixir fountain. and it's going to give you the color that you must walk through. When you walk through that color, you're going to experience what they speak of as bliss. Beloved, tomorrow morning we're going to meet here. What time after 5?
5:19.
What?
5:19.
5:19, a nice number. 24, my number. Yes, no.
It's also the 24th day.
Yes. Well, that's good. Now, we are going to be here and worship. Arrange your heart tonight before going to bed so that you will give to this Easter and those you love the wonderful healing. You know, so many people are wasting their life by walking over other people's affections. So many people are so cruel to other people. So many systems are set up cruelly to manipulate many persons who are innocently bound, however, by karma, but yet innocent and naive as to why they are bound. The suffering in the world, beloved one, begins to be healed with one person. And inasmuch as you started in this world with creating mind, it is the work of 1, 2, and 3 met in his name to begin to heal. So this is what we must be aware. We are always near the ministering angels. We are always near the beloved saints who seek to prevent us from falling into pitfalls, that we might walk in their path. We have so deleted our religion as to forget there were angels and saints, that we have produced socialized religions and built upon ecclesiastical politics. We are seeking to be free of creed, all the world, so that the veil which was rent when Jesus was crucified must be used, that all religions flow into one another. Time to God is in inestimable limits. We cannot begin to estimate time limits he has for us to be created, not only this eternity system, but in many, many eternity systems, which we sojourn in. And the majority of us in this room have come from the same eternity systems. Don't forget that you are brothers and sisters in the Christ. When you are thinking ill of a fellow disciple, do not forget this. And do not gauge your brothers and sisters in the Christ with the same gauge you have gauged your childhood blood relatives. Eventually, you will understand these relatives and love them as your own fellow in Christ. But all those wounds you had as siblings in childhood, they are part of the undersoul, which will not let go until you know what they are and face them in your own self as a part of the portion of negativity pride. Spiritual pride, beloved ones, is one of the highest negatives. Spiritual pride. When one has gained a lot of spiritual knowledge or has a lot of practice and understanding and has accomplished and has seen visions, as St. Paul says. That passage of St. Paul is so true. Unless you have charity or agape, you are as nothing. As nothing. Let us walk in the light as he is in the light. Let us serve God as a privilege of serving God. Let us be always in a state of agape spirit, kindness. If there's an unpleasant thing we have to do which seems unpleasant, but is a necessity out of karma, do it with love. Speak to the person whom you would correct or the person whom you would help. If your criticism is sharp, you have set up a cycle of negativity which is going to come home to you and humiliate you in exactly the same way you have humiliated that person. Everything comes back with an exact level on the scales of God. Never fails, never fails. If you are slandered, you're going to be slandered. If you steal, you're going to be stolen from. If you have made others hungry, you're going to go hungry. If you're taking someone's husband or wife, you are going to have someone take your husband or wife. This is the law. Beloved ones, to a blessed of God, I love you. It is God's grant to me to be here with you in this time. And I'm praying for constant strength and for be always in what is being called now in medical language, holistic light, that I will be insulated for the sake of all of us, that we may, as a company of God, go forth, as I say in the rosary in the daytime, to heal, to teach, to serve, and to spread the holy name of Jesus. To heal, to teach, to serve, and to spread and give the holy word. The holy word, the vibration of spirit, the first breath of life in all of us. Meditate with seriousness. Your restless mind can be put in a straitjacket, literally. Every time you get those little popcorn popping off of the restless mind, put a straitjacket over it mentally. You have a mind you can visualize, so take the straitjacket and just put it over it. It works. God bless you. I love you. Let's all have a wonderful rest tonight and sleep well and have hierarchy dreams. God bless you. Bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Father.
Don't forget, it takes the pressure off the lungs, and the lungs are breathing always.